Barney Fife II, I should say. But appreciate them, appreciate what they do for the veterans. I can imagine just, you know, if you got a lot of things on your mind, just get on your Harley and take off and just enjoy the scenery and the sunrises and the sunsets and the breeze and everything, and you're just away from everything and everybody, and gives you a chance to clear your mind. I can imagine that. Chris McDonald joins me, and let me ask you. You know, that seems like a very fun thing to do. I have never done it, only because I'm a chicken and a coward. You know, it's one of those things, if you did it, you probably, well, you know, you'd live to ride once you take that first one, I would think. But I think of that motorcycle going down, you know, I would hate to look back and see my tissue, you know, my skin, flesh, you know, on the road behind me. That's the only thing that keeps me from it. But everybody else rides, so that's a poor excuse. But for a coward, it's a good one.
Well, Tom, I think, you know, just the photography value of that, I think you need to do that and just bring me up and make sure I'm on the camera when you're doing it. I've only rode one of those one time in my life, and that was years ago, and I was a passenger on one, and I haven't been back on one since, so I understand your fear and trepidation there.
But I see these people doing it, and they're, you know, a lot of them do it, you know, in an unsafe manner.
Absolutely.
And that's sort of what concerns me. I see people, I don't know what zone I live in, speed limit zone, probably a 45. Nobody drives 45.
Nobody drives 45.
On that road. Even the kid on a bicycle.
No, they don't. No, they don't. That's true.
And there comes a, you know, cars 55, 60, 65, and there goes a motorcycle about 110, you know. I often wonder if they're going to become airborne when they drop down, you know, quarter of a mile down the road when they have a big dip, that they're going to go airborne. That may be the fun part of it. But joining us, we got about 2 minutes left, and then we're going to break for Charles Osgood and come back and talk some more. Chris McDonald joins us this morning, and we appreciate you driving up from the other side of Knoxville.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate it. I'll just, for a minute and a half, I'll ask you as a starter. I'm sure you watched the debate last night.
I did. It was an interesting debate. It wasn't high on drama, as most people probably were expecting. It was more substantive, and I appreciated that. I think we need more of that. These zoo questions and these things that the CNBC people did the last time was just hideous, and I think last night we needed to hear these candidates tell us what their plans were for the country. And while it may not have made for good television, I think the American people benefited more from what we heard last night than anything yet. And to be honest with you, the debate before the debate, the one at 7, was actually interesting too. Chris Christie, I think, did himself very well in that first one. It's a shame that he wasn't on the stage last night. But I think overall everybody, you know, got their points out. As far as winners and losers, we'll get more into that later as we talk about it. But I will say this, that I think that at some point, Tom, we're getting to a point that some of these candidates are going to have to drop out, because you can't have 20 people on the ballot. And the Republicans are going to have to consolidate their base and consolidate and get behind one candidate. And I know what the primaries are for, but a lot of these men really don't have a real chance, and they need to just step out and give the ones that do have a chance a real clear path to be able to talk to the American people, give them a vision. And look, Hillary Clinton is going to be the Democratic nominee, and whether they want to admit that right now or not, she is going to be their focus, and that's who they need to be focusing on, not tearing each other down. And I think that when you whittle this field down, you'll see more and more of that, which I think is going to help them too.
AM 74 WCXZ will pause for Charles Osgood. Be back in a couple of minutes, and we'll be talking with Chris throughout the morning. Yeah, Chris. I almost say Chris Christie.
My apologies to Chris Christie on that one, Tom.
Chris McDonald joins me this morning. He joins us from time to time, and we'll one of these days. Chris is many things. He's a writer. He's a webmaster for many people, many organizations. He writes for the East Tennessee. Is it the East Tennessee Times?
Times, it is. Uh-huh.
Are you the East Tennessee Times?
Well, it's I'm the online editor. Dr. Gwen Ford down in Sevierville. She's the publisher and general editor, and but Gwen lets me basically handle the website and put the news up for that, and that keeps me pretty busy. And we enjoy doing that. Look, I love being part of the news every day, and this is, me and you discuss the news a lot, and this is my thing, and I love it. And we've been doing it a while. I have a background years ago when the hair wasn't as white, and a lot better looking, Tom, than I am now. I actually started in the newspaper business, and I loved it. I just had a little space of time that I didn't do it. But I'm really enjoying what I'm doing right now, and we're hoping to expand the Times this year. And who knows where this, the paper's going to go. It's a good paper. Gwen's a great lady. She's a fine person to work with, and I've been enjoying myself. Really have.
Well, good. And just while we're on the subject, how can we find the East Tennessee Times?
www.easttntimes.com. easttntimes.com. It's a good website, and the webmaster is a little crazy, but other than that, you'll get some good information on that website, and it'll keep you informed. We've got a good variety of news. We keep with the local headlines, but we also do national, world, state, everything, sports even. And I'm real proud of it. I'm real proud of our site. I'm real proud of the paper. And we're hopefully to, as I said, this coming year, expand a little bit. Who knows where we may go with it. And but we encourage everyone to, if you want to keep up with the news every day, check us out and stay up with us. It would be great.
Chris McDonald joins us. Speaking of Chris, in the debates last night and leading up to the debate, seems like Chris Christie is one that is slowly losing his persona as the in-your-face former, prosecuting attorney, federal prosecuting attorney.
Right.
And he seems like he is trying to lose that persona and become a true statesman, and he has been. In his personal appearances, and I watched, to be honest with you, I fell asleep sometime during the debate last night and woke up about midnight.
Yeah.
But I understand from the news media and the news reports that he did well last night. I like Chris Christie. I'm not sure whether he is one. But I'm not sure he is the one. What's your take on last night?
Well, Chris Christie has been a unique candidate, Tom, because I was always believing that he would be doing better in the polls than he's doing, and I'm not really sure why he's not. But I've listened to actually he did himself well in the last debate, even with the CNBC circus, the one that was all, just crazy and all the crazy questions. He did himself well. He has been one of the few that has not gone after his fellow Republicans, but he's centered his attacks on Hillary Clinton, and he's made it clear given a vision of what he would do as president if he's elected. And I respect that, and I think that's what most people are listening and wanting to hear. He does have a reputation for being a in-your-face kind of New Jersey guy, but that's just a New Jersey thing. That's New Englanders in general. I mean, they're a little different breed of people than us Southerners are. We Southerners, we just give you a cup of tea with our in-your-face. The New Englanders don't. But anyway, but I do like him, and I tell you, he's growing on me as a candidate. And I'm just going to be honest with you right now. I don't know how long the Trump factor is going to continue to ride. With his popularity. I think Donald had his moment. And he's certainly, up there in the polls still. Ben Carson is riding a high right now. But I heard one of the commentators say something last night, and I think we all should listen to it. And she said, you cannot count any of these candidates out because no votes have been cast yet. So no matter what the polls are saying, it really doesn't matter until we actually see the polls start coming in, when they actually start voting. I think it's February with Iowa and New Hampshire. And then, as the spring comes on next year into the summer, we'll have these other primaries. And look, any of these candidates, with the exception probably of a few at the very, 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 very bottom, and I'm talking Jindal and Graham, and I can't think of the other. Rand Paul was probably in that category. Mike Huckabee, and I like Mike Huckabee, but he's not going to win. You're going to see a whittling away, as I said, of all these other smaller candidates that are just polling less than 1%. And when you see that, I think we're going to get a clear picture here toward Christmas and the first of the year as to who the Republican frontrunners are going to be. And I really am shocked, to be honest with you, that Chris Christie is not up there more than he is, because he's got a lot of great ideas. I believe that he's got the personality to be president. I think he's got the demeanor. He's got the statesmanship. We need a strong leader. We need somebody with the direction and a vision. And we need somebody that is willing to fight. I heard somebody say something last night, and I totally agreed with it. One of the things that is killing Jeb Bush and his approach, and I think it's going to be the downfall of Ben Carson too. Ben's a great guy. He's got great ideas, but he doesn't have that passion. We are wanting somebody. This country is angry. We are mad. And I would use a phrase from a movie years ago. Hopefully I can say this, but as the guy on the network said, we're mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore. But I think that's the tenor of the country. And when they look at these candidates and they see somebody like Christie, and even though Donald has some weird ideas, he's got that passion, and that's what he's tapped into. He's tapped into that passion and anger that the country's feeling, and that's why his poll numbers up. And that's why, as again, I've been a little bit surprised that Christie ain't done a little bit better. But again, it's early. Still, we're getting closer to a breaking point in this campaign. But I think he did himself real well last night in the debate. Some of the things he said, the way he said it, and again, he was centering his attacks not on the other Republicans. He strictly went after Hillary Clinton, and I think that's the way to go in these primaries instead of them beating each other up. Center your attacks on who you're going to be facing come a year ago, actually a year from now in November. We're about a year away from the general, so going to be an interesting year ahead.
That it is, and you mentioned something there. I don't understand why the Kasich and Paul and some of the other ones who are down, Jindal, they have no chance of winning. They're intelligent people. They should know that, so I have no idea why they're hanging around. Ron Paul would pick up normally in an election 18% of the vote, which would never win. But people had to vote for Ron Paul, and then what happened? They pulled votes away from the other Republican candidates, and someone else won. But anyway, with that said, what name, if you will, one of the major issues, whether it's foreign affairs, terrorism, or whatever it might be, ISIS is, I think, to me, that's probably the big concern, with the other ones falling right behind it, national security. So whatever you think the major concern is, tell me that, and then if you will, tell me the candidate or candidates that you think can best solve those issues.
Well, I think the theme that ran through that debate last night, of course, the Fox Business Network is the one that put it on, not Fox News. And the main conversation last night was about economics and the economy, taxes, the tax plans. But Tom, I think this election is going to be a little different than elections in the past because of the weakness of our country in foreign policy, the rise of ISIS. Look, we're in a very dangerous time right now, and I really believe that Americans are going to be looking for somebody who can lead the country and feel safe again and feel protected and feel that somebody is leading and not sitting back watching things happen and then react to things that are happening overseas instead of being on top of it and being in retrospect, being proactive instead of reactive. And that's what we've had for the last 8 years. We've had an administration that's always reacting to things that we should already be involved in. And look, I'm not advocating that the United States has to have troops in every single place in the world and we send them in at every little skirmish, because there are some skirmishes that are just not worth getting involved in, and I think this past decade has shown us that. But there are some things that we have to take some tough decisions and make some tough decisions, and if American troops are needed, that we need to send them in. And we need a president that is very smart and intelligent and knows the balance on how to do that, and to use the power of our country, which is still the greatest country in the world, and use it wisely and use it in a way that, again, the world can be a safer place. I think that the immigration issue, and I sort of got off my topic there, but last night the immigration issue seemed to be the theme, other than the economy. That seemed to be the one thing that most of these candidates were really getting hammered on. And Trump and his I'm going to deport 11 million people. People get they mock that, and they make fun of him. But I'm going to say something about that right now, Tom, and I may not get a lot of applause out there either. But those 11 million people, whether no matter how you shake a stick at it, they are here illegally, and they have no right to be in this country. They just don't. Now, I don't know how totally to address that. There's the hardline way. There's the soft way, which we're doing right now. We're letting them just go without doing anything to them. And then I'm sure that there's a common sense way that somebody can come up with that we can handle this and make them either legal or do what we need to do to enforce the laws of this country. Because there's two sides to this debate. The media only frames the side that we're breaking up families if we deport those that are here illegally. And there's not a soul out there that's listening this morning, I don't think there is, that's against immigration into our country. We're not anti-immigrant. We're not anti-foreigners. We're not anti-Mexicans. We're not anti-Hispanics. We're not anti-anything to advocate for the rule of law to be applied in our country. Look, these people, if me and you, Tom, let's just say we went to France, and we got over there, and we really liked France. Man, we just loved it. And we had a passport, but we had no citizenship papers in France, okay? And we just decided, something? I'm going to stick around. I'm going to hang out here, and I'm not going back to my country. If we get caught in that country, and it could be any country, me and you would wind up in jail and probably back on a plane to America immediately. But the United States of America is the only country that allows people that are doing just that to stay here, and then on top of that, to add insult to injury, are given more benefits and given more things from the government than even our own citizens are given. And I think that anger and that infuriates a lot of people. And unfortunately, that's not how the debate is framed. Let me just say one quick thing, and I'll give it back to you in a minute. Ted Cruz said something last night that was hilarious, and all the commentators picked up on it, and he probably had the best line of the year about illegal immigration. And he said that if these were journalists coming across the border and affecting the news industry in a negative way and causing the wages to go down for the American journalists here in our country, you would see a whole different dialogue and a whole different discourse about illegal immigration from the media. And let me tell you something, Ted Cruz hit a home run on that one last night. I have to give him a kudo on that, because that was the best line of the year as far as I was concerned.
Well, he's hit 2 home runs then.
Yes, he's hit 2 home runs.
Back to the CNBC debate.
Yes.
And that's interesting and very true. That put it into perspective. If you let a few of them go without jobs, because somebody came in from somewhere else and undercut their salary, that would be another picture. Interesting things, Chris, and then we can talk about something else. We got about 8 minutes or so. With the number, according to the media, including Fox News, who thinks they're on top of everything, but often are not, the magic number is now 11 million. Now, I remember, and they come across every day, probably thousands every day. It's just sort of like a caravan. You've seen them on TV, just walking across one after another after another. Years ago, we had 25 million illegals. Then it became 20. Then it dropped down. We've got about 15 million. Now it's 11 million. If you just wait another year, there won't be any illegals in this country, according to the news media.
Exactly.
So, that's interesting. They just throw figures out there. They have no idea. But I guarantee the figure of 25 was far closer than the figure of 11, and I would think it's probably much higher than 25, maybe into the 40, 45 million range, because you get into parts of this country like Arizona, New Mexico, Southern California, Texas. In some locations, you have more illegal immigrants from Mexico than you do citizens of that particular state.
Well, and Tom, you're hitting something that, again, that is not discussed, and again, that is not just an economic issue. That goes down to security, our national security. Just think about that. Let's say 25 million is correct. That's an army. That is
Absolutely.
an entire army of people that are in this country. And look, let's just be frank, not all of those are coming over here. And again, the narrative is, well, they're coming here for better economic settings for their family. That is a crock of you-know-what. And we South Georgia boys have a word for that. I can't use on your
So
program this morning.
So do East Tennessee.
Yeah, East Tennessee, all of us do. And we know what that word is, and that is a crock of that. And look, it is no way that they're all coming over here just for that. And look, when Donald Trump gets slammed for saying that, Mexico's sending us their worst people, look, you can take that offensively if you want, but what he's basically saying is, and what he's saying is right. There are criminal elements that are coming into this country. There are people that are committing crimes that should not even be here to begin with, and then we turn a blind eye to that. This sanctuary city issue has really just been a horrendous thing that some of these cities like San Francisco have been doing. And then, for them to basically ignore the law, the rule of law, and just let the people stay there and vow that we'll never touch you no matter what you do, it's a slap in the face of every law-abiding citizen in this country. But it goes back down to national security. It's a dangerous thing to have people in your country you can't account for. Because, Tom, it's only going to create a time bomb later that's going to go off. And when it goes off, it's going to be too late. It's like the fox in the hen house. It'll be too late to get the fox out of the hen house when something happens. And look, not just the Hispanics coming across, but that border being unsecure is also unsecure in Canada and other parts, and it's opening the door to another 9/11. And we talked about 9/11 last month, or in September, and that is what planted the seed. Our lax border allowed these guys to come across without us even knowing that they were here. And that should startle all of us and keep us alert. And again, it goes back to who's running for president. Somebody needs to deal with this. And whether Trump has the right idea or not, I don't know. I'm sort of mixed about what he's saying about what he can do. I don't think he can do it legally. But at least what he's saying on when you get down and strip away the political correct stuff and all the hiding of it, what he's saying is right. You've got to deal with these illegals that are here. You cannot let them keep breaking the law and not address it. We become lawless if we do. And again, it slaps in the face of those that are here. And again, to give benefits to people that are already here breaking the law, that's just more insulting and just absolutely insidious.
I'll make one statement, then I'll let you close it out, and we'll go with that. And but I do believe in a wall. Got to have a wall.
Absolutely.
And that wall has to go from the Pacific Ocean all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. Got to have a wall.
Absolutely.
Other countries have walls. And everything that you mentioned is true. For the past 4.5, 5 years, I was in Morristown quite often. I always picked up a copy of the local newspaper. And practically always, every time I looked at one, there would be a story, and it would involve an illegal Hispanic. Mm-hmm. Most often, they'd either involve human trafficking, forcing preteens into a life of prostitution. East Tennessee, we do have slavery in East Tennessee. We have slavery all over the United States, but it's a white slavery, forcing young Hispanic girls into prostitution at preteens. We have that. If you look at the police part of the newspaper, the arrest and front page stories, invariably it involves a violent crime from somebody from Mexico in this country illegally. Drugs, somebody cheated somebody on a drug deal, so they got killed, and it involved somebody who's been in this country, like the guy in Mexico.
Right.
3, 4, 5 times, has a rap sheet as long as your arm, but he's just here to get a good job and send money back home to the folks.
Well, and again, that narrative in the media is always protected because they're always slow. If it is a Hispanic involved or an illegal alien or even a Muslim or somebody that shouldn't be here to begin with, and I'm saying it just seems like that they're so scared to report the facts. And look, the facts on the ground are what they are, and you cannot change those. And that is what is creating just a cauldron of horror for this country. Look, I don't care who gets elected. Whether it's, whichever of these Republicans, I'm not voting for the Democratic one, I can tell you that, but they're going to have a mess on their hands to deal with come January 2017, and it's going to be something that is going to have to be addressed on day one. And look, there are great ideas out there. There are some that are not so great, but somebody has got to address it at some point, and I agree with you totally. The wall needs to be built. And if Donald can get Mexico to build it, look, go down there and make him build it. Hey, he had The Apprentice, man. Come on, he can get Mexico. He had The Apprentice on for years, and he get canceled. If he can do that, he can get Mexico to build the wall, right?
Well, when you got $8 billion,
absolutely,
he can build it himself. I would think. We appreciate it. Any last thoughts?
Tom, yeah, I do. Actually, I wanted to just say a very happy Veterans Day to everybody, including my dad, who's listening this morning. He's down in Cairo, Georgia. He's a retired Navy, and he served for years in the Navy, and I love him to death, and I wanted to wish him, and my brother, who's also retired Air Force, and my brother's a professor in South Alabama in Mobile. Wanted to tell him and my dad both happy Veterans Day to them, and all our veterans out there who are serving and have served in our military. We want to salute you this morning and let you know that we're very proud of your service. We're proud of your courage. We thank you for your sacrifice. We thank your families for your sacrifice, because I know that many of them have spent days and months and years away in part from you because of what you're doing for our country. And I will just interject this. It is a shame that this administration does not respect our veterans more. I think, look, I've got a lot of issues with what's going on in D.C. and the Obama White House, but the one thing that grieves me the most, probably of everything, is their lack of respect for our veterans and the lack of respect and the due diligence that they give to those that have served and are in the military. And it's a tragedy that's going on. But I do want to say that, and we need to pray for those that are in the service this morning and for their protection and their families. And look, we live in a dangerous world. There are threats that are here that, unless they're addressed soon, Tom. Let me just say one quick thing. I know we're running out of time. I read something yesterday, and it was stated that if the United States or the world does not address ISIS, there's going to be no Christian population in the Middle East in 10 years. In a decade, they're saying right now, with the way that the Christians are being purged in the Middle East by Islamic extremists and these ISIS hordes, there will be no Christian population within a decade in the Middle East. Let me tell you something. That's coming to America if we don't straighten up and fight and destroy this group and stop trying to be political and shake hands with them and make deals with them behind the scenes. But happy Veterans Day to everybody. Happy Veterans Day, again, to my dad and my brother. And I just want to say a shout out to some folks listening in Alabama today, and I understand some overseas people are listening too, and I just wanted to thank them for tuning in this morning, and I've enjoyed my time with you, and it's always good coming up here and chit-chatting, and I appreciate you, buddy.
Well, we appreciate you. Happy Veterans Day, and we thank all of those people that you just mentioned for their service to our country, and to anyone else listening that has served in the armed forces, served in the military. We wish you a very good Veterans Day. And let me encourage people, if you're out today and there's a person in front of you that you know is a veteran, maybe someone wearing the uniform, but even if you know he's a veteran, buy his lunch and thank him for his service or her.
Great idea. Great idea.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Come back and see us. We'll talk with everyone. Be back here tomorrow. CBS News.